Well, good evening. I'm Dave Jones with Storm Center Communications and GeoCollaborate. This is the evening update after the 5 p.m. Hurricane Center update. It is Saturday, August 28th, and folks, we have ourselves a formidable hurricane in the Gulf of Mexico. Ida is no longer playing around with any sort of question about whether or not it's organized. You can see from the satellite picture here, this is from the NOAA GOES satellite. It's 22,300 miles up in space in a geosynchronous orbit. So it's looking at the same spot all the time as it orbits around the Earth. You can see the circulation of Ida. Winds now are 105 miles per hour. It's a Category 2 storm, and it's on its way to becoming a Category 3 storm. Only needs winds of 111 miles per hour to become Category 3. And I'm going to dive down a little bit closer here and show you what it looks like from this visible satellite picture. You can see the spin in the around the clouds here, and there are thunderstorms that are being produced. Matter of fact, I'm going to put a little bit of enhancement on this satellite here so you can see what's going on. The satellite picture is a little bit jumpy, but you can see that the eye is starting to close off in this area. I'm going to try to give it a little bit of a refresh here while it's loading back up. But you can see the eye is almost closed off. When this closes off with the deep convection, their deep thunderstorm activity, then we're going to most likely have a Category 3 hurricane. NOAA hurricane hunters are flying through this storm right now. I'll turn off this enhancement here. There we go. It's starting to catch up. There we go. So you can see some thunderstorms that are continuing to wrap around the center. Here is New Orleans, right at the tip of this yellow cursor here, and there are a lot of people that are taking mandatory evacuations seriously. I-10 was packed, continues to be packed. As a matter of fact, we can go down there and show you a little bit of the traffic and what it looked like just a few minutes ago. These are the folks that are going towards Slidell, Louisiana from New Orleans, coming away from New Orleans. It's been a mandatory evacuation for those people who live outside of the levee system, but a voluntary evacuation for those people who live within the levee system. The big question is whether or not these pumps in New Orleans are going to be able to handle the incredible rainfall that is forecast to happen when Ida makes landfall. There's predictions of between 10 and 15 inches of rain could happen within a 6 to 8 hour period as well. And the pumps just aren't designed to handle that. But you can see the folks as they try to evacuate, it's slow going because of what's going on there. Let me just take GeoCollaborate a little bit full screen here so I can show you what's going on. I'll bring it up just a little bit. You can see, let's go in a little bit closer. The radius of tropical storm force winds is almost symmetrical now, and it's continuing to spread out. Remember what I said in my previous video post, that the tropical storm force winds extend well beyond the cone. Look at that. Look how narrow the cone is here, and how wide the wind field is. So you can just imagine this moving all the way up here and the wind field being out about this large. So please don't treat the cone as a damage path. Treat it as a probability, most likely where the center of the hurricane is expected to move. The damage path can go 150 miles on either side of the storm. So you can see the official forecast of the Hurricane Center has it being a Category 3 storm with winds of 120 miles per hour, and then making landfall as a Category 4 hurricane with winds of about 130 miles per hour with higher gusts. So there's no time to evacuate the city of New Orleans. You heard the mayor say that last night. We showed that video of her impassioned presentation, her her press conference telling people to hunker down if you don't intend to evacuate. And so I'm going to dive into New Orleans here a little bit. And I just want to show you, here's Lake Pontchartrain, and this is Route 10 that goes across here. Let me turn off the hurricane track, the expected hurricane track here. And I'm going to turn off, by the way, Louisiana is red because they've declared a state of emergency. I'll back out here just for a moment. And the state of Alabama just recently declared a state of emergency as well. Mississippi, we haven't received any word yet if they're going to declare a state of emergency. It seems like a very appropriate thing to do. I think they did request for a declaration of federal assistance for a disaster area from the president. So we just don't have their declaration of emergency quite yet. But it populates into GeoCollaborate once we do get it. But I'm going to turn off here Louisiana from being red, and I'm just going to dive right down here into New Orleans because I want to show you Route 10. This is the city of New Orleans right down here, and you can see the bridge here. This is Route 10 going across into Slidell, Louisiana. And the camera that I showed you is located right about here looking down this bridge. And let's take a look at that again to see what that traffic looks like. And there it is. This is just about 20 minutes ago. It is slow. It's slow for people leaving New Orleans to head into Slidell. And they have to go a lot further than that to get out of the area of threat. Because this storm has a very large wind field, and there's going to be a lot of wind pushing water right into this area and into and over Lake Pontchartrain. This area of water is going to see a lot of pushing of the Gulf of Mexico, and then you can see the levee structures right here. So these levees are intended to hold back this water, and there's high confidence that they will hold back the water. Now, I had an opportunity earlier today to speak with Jim Williams. And Jim Williams is the public-private partnership operations officer for the state of Louisiana. And when I talked to Jim, it was just a couple of hours ago. I want you to hear what he has to say because I asked him specifically whether or not there were any levees that they are really concerned about and where they need to focus. Where should we focus our attentions on based on the high storm surge that's expected to come? Here's Jim Williams. Are you looking at anywhere specific in the levee system for weaknesses? Are there any locations where if you get a big storm surge of 5 to 8 feet in southeast Louisiana, or you get a push of water into Lake Pontchartrain, are there any areas that that you're thinking, boy, we really got to watch this?
So in the scenario for Hurricane Ida, there are two places that are really going to be susceptible to this. There is one area that is in Plaquemines Parish where they have some. I may not use the right term. It's not a federally built levee system. It was either, I believe it was a parish or local drainage board built levee system that is not at the same height as the ones that are built by the Corps of Engineers. They were in the process of meeting the federally mandated height standards post-Katrina, but they have not completed that project because it is not something that the Corps maintains. So that area will have some potential problems. And then as you get closer to where the storm, where the eye will strike, some of those protection areas are only in the neighborhood of 12 feet, I think it is, or something like that. So there is some potential there. If they get above that, they could have some overtopping of the levee systems. And then, as everybody knows, Louisiana is a lot of flat marshland. So there is always in some of those areas that we love to hunt and fish in to get inundated.
And so the areas that are susceptible to perhaps overtopping of the levees by a storm surge, do those areas have pumps as well, or is it just no? You just gotta let the water disappear after they flood?
I do not know for certain. I'm sure that there is something there, and I do know that the Corps is moving mobile pumping systems into areas to do what they call dewatering operations. So should an area get inundated and they have no capability internally or inherently to that area to pump the water out, the state along with the Corps of Engineers are moving assets in that area to be able to do exactly what you're talking about.
Okay. And the other levee systems in other parts of the state, are they high confidence that they'll be able to hold up as well?
Yes. Yeah. That's and I just left a meeting with the governor probably about an hour ago, and so there was no significant talk other than the two areas that we talked about. The one is the local levee system in Lower Plaquemines Parish, and then some of the areas around Houma Thibodeau, which appears to be ground zero for this. There is the potential for some overtopping there.
So that's the latest on the status of the levee system there. And one of the things that Ida is also going to bring to Louisiana and into Mississippi and Alabama are flooding rains. As I mentioned before, 8 to 15 inches of rain is forecast. Some areas locally 20 inches of rain. Here in GeoCollaborate, you can see this area of red. This is a high likelihood for flooding to happen. This is occurring or imminent is the category that the Weather Prediction Center has labeled southern Louisiana here. Why is it imminent? Because of this right here. Let me see if I can turn on the radar data and see if we can see any of the weather approaching from the storm. So here you go. Here's some outer bands of Ida that are showing up on radar. Now, the radar is in Slidell, Louisiana, and it's really quite far. So the fact that these are showing up means that they're pretty strong storms all the way out here in the ocean. And so the reason why flooding is occurring or imminent is because within the next 24 hours, southern Louisiana is going to get dumped with rain that is incredibly heavy. There's nothing like tropical downpours. The drops are larger and they just come down much faster. So all the way from Lake Charles, just east of Beaumont, in this yellow area, up towards Jackson and up towards Starkville, and out over across Mobile and Pensacola in Florida, there is a likelihood of flooding being caused by these bands and the main rain from the hurricane when it comes in during the day tomorrow. The water is already being pushed up, so the water's starting to get a bit rough along the coastline. It's only going to go downhill from here as waves out in the Gulf of Mexico are very, very large. Matter of fact, one of the buoys that was out in the Gulf of Mexico, I think I have that here in this instance. Let me see if I do. I want to turn on some of the buoys. I do have these. So I just turned on. You see all these buoys that turned on. These are NOAA observations in the ocean that are happening. And there's a buoy right here. Look at that. It's right in the southeastern part of the storm. And it says right now the winds are 31 knots, gusting to 39 knots. So that's about 45 miles per hour that the winds are gusting. And the storm, it's pretty far from the center of the storm. So it's going to be approaching some other buoys in here. These other symbols are oil rigs. And I have a statistic about that. Many oil rigs have been abandoned. They have been evacuated, I should say. And 90% of the oil production in the Gulf of Mexico has been shut down because of Ida. And so this is what we have. This is the situation as the storm moves in this direction. And currently, the center of Ida is forecast to move to the west of New Orleans, the west of New Orleans. Now, everybody remembers, and I even talked to Jim Williams about, are there any comparisons being done to Katrina? And he said, oh, yes, there's a lot of talk about Katrina. And we're going to watch where the path of the storm goes because we have the radar data from Katrina. I showed this last update or the update before, and I'll show it one more time again here. Take a look for where Katrina went when it made landfall. This is Hurricane Katrina coming ashore as a Category 3, and then it diminished a little bit to a Category 2 hurricane, and it moved to the east of New Orleans. So as Katrina moved up, look at all that wind that it's blowing towards into Lake Pontchartrain, putting a lot of pressure on the levees and on the water system there. And you know what resulted? A number of collapses of the levees that flooded the Ninth Ward. Terrible tragedy in 2005. Well, we're going to keep watching that, and we're going to watch the radar data for Ida to see exactly where this storm moves and how New Orleans, what is the resulting meteorological results? What are the impacts on New Orleans with this hurricane that's forecast to be a Category 4 storm when it makes landfall? What are the different results? There are differences in many times depending on where the storm makes landfall. Hurricane Andrew in 1992 made landfall about 25 miles a little bit further west in Louisiana and caused a lot of damage. It was a Category 3 storm. Making landfall as a Category 4 is going to cause devastating results. The National Weather Service referred to it as a life-altering experience because when this storm comes through, there are some areas that could be without power for 2 to 3 weeks. And in southern Louisiana, that's not a comfort. That is something that really needs to be addressed. And we throw COVID on top of that. So a lot of the shelters are asking you to bring your masks, wear your masks at all times, try to keep socially distanced. And there are also evacuees that are not finding hotel rooms until you get into Texas, which is fairly common. Anybody who's determining whether they're going to evacuate tonight, do not evacuate to the north. That is the path that the storm is forecast to go. So if you evacuate to Monroe or Jackson, or you want to go all the way up to northern Mississippi, maybe Little Rock would be a better place to consider as you're driving north. But you can see the projected path of the storm to take a curve, which means it's going to slow down, and it's even a Category 1 hurricane over Baton Rouge. There's going to be a lot of rain and a lot of wind that's going to be coming ashore. So I have a couple of key points that I wanted to share with you before I end this. So 279, that's the number of oil rigs that have been evacuated in the Gulf of Mexico. I mentioned 90% of the oil production has shut down until the storm moves through, damage is assessed, and they can re-energize those pipelines to start bringing more oil in for processing. And from about 2 hours ago, 209 flights have been canceled at the New Orleans International Airport. That number is likely to go up. I'm sure there's not going to be a single flight into the New Orleans airport during the day tomorrow, and maybe even the next day, depending on how much damage happens as the storm moves through. So that's the update for this Saturday evening. Thank you for watching. We'll probably do another update after 11 o'clock because the storm is under a rapid intensification posture right now. There are a lot of thunderstorms developing around the center. When that center closes off and we have a solid stadium effect eye wall, which means you can look up there and it looks just like a stadium with seats all around it. Although those are 10-mile high thunderstorms, then we're on our way to Category 3 and perhaps Category 4. The National Hurricane Center is your place for getting the latest information. You can reach them at hurricanes.gov, also weather.gov, and you can click around their map. We will continue to post these videos to the Fleet Response Working Group GeoCollaborate dashboard, and we'll do another update after the 11 o'clock official Hurricane Center update tonight. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon. Please be safe.